Yeah, don't look at those.
Who left those cheat sheets up here?
These from Conan?
What's happening, people?
Lars Ulrich, everybody.
Zane Lowe, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, then.
All right, it's really
Look
good.
at all those cameras.
Yes, it's a lot.
Wow. Who are you guys waiting for? Anyway.
It's a great room, and it's a great occasion, South by Southwest. I'm stoked to be back. Really happy.
Me too.
And that looked really cool, what you just saw on screen, and we're going to get to that. It looks even better when you have the opportunity to see it in the environment in which it's created and what it's created for. And we're going to get to that too. But first, the reason we're all in this room, and I don't mean just us and the people backstage, but everybody in this room, is because we're fans, right? Yeah! We're all fans. I mean, we're Metallica fans, for sure. But we're also, we're fans.
Let's not push it, but fine, okay?
That's your people, baby.
That's it right here. That's my person.
But, you know, we are fans of things, of people who create things. And why I was so excited to have this conversation with you, Lars, is because Metallica, and I think your fans will agree, have dedicated yourselves to trying to, as the title of this conversation suggests, break the fourth wall from day one. You've always tried to put fans and bring fans in as close as humanly possible to the experience, and to enhance the experience of a Metallica show and to reward those fans. And first of all, before we even get going, I just want to thank you for that, because you and the band have always done that.
Thank you. Yeah.
So let's start with you and what it was like for you as a young music fan, and what your experience of that was that put you on the path to wanting others to have that experience.
Well, thank you for that. It's a great question. That's a pretty wide place to start. I guess going back to growing up in Copenhagen, Denmark. That's right. Denmark. That's right. I used to go to rock shows, started going to rock shows when I was really young. My dad took me to see Deep Purple when I was 10 years old, 1970 something. That just aged me.
It's 10 years.
Yeah,
right. Man, you can...
And so I would see all these shows, and I found myself just kind of wanting to get close to the music, close to the band, close to the players, close to the experience, and try to sort of immerse myself into all of it. You know, when Deep Purple would stay in Denmark, all the rock bands in the 70s stayed at the Plaza Hotel, and I would park myself outside of the Plaza Hotel, and I would wait for Richie Blackmore and David Coverdale, and you know, bands like Thin Lizzy and Kiss and whoever else was coming through, Black Sabbath.
I did that for you too. When they came to Auckland one time, I made my mom take me to stand outside the hotel that I thought they were staying in. I felt that is as close as I felt that we could get back then in a strange way, right?
Yeah, there was just something about that when you were drawn to the music and drawn to the experience, you wanted to try to just get as close as you could.
Yeah.
And anyway, so you know, when we then subsequently later formed a band, and you know, the bands that we were inspired by and that made us want to be Metallica and play music were also the ones that had the most transparency and the most open doors. A lot of the bands, as you know, that directly affected Metallica sound and attitudes in the very early days, bands like Motorhead, Iron Maiden, a lot of the bands in the new wave of British heavy metal, which was really, at core, was sort of the punk aesthetic, the punk attitude, the punk sort of DIY approach, but played heavier and you know, set obviously in a heavy world. But all those bands, they had that door, let's call it the transparency door, wide open, wide open. So come in, be part of what's going on, and you know, if you liked the music, you also had access to the band, and that was the attitude that we took with us when we started. We just wanted to be on the same level as, anybody who was interested in listening to the music and being part of the ride. You know, the fans, you know, the kids, as the English would call them at the time, but you know, it was all about being on an even playing field. A lot of the bands that, if you go a little bit back for sort of more of a you know, understanding the threads and I guess the history of music, you know, the punk movement in itself was sort of an answer or a middle finger to how larger than life all the mid-70s rock bands and how far from reality they were, and how far removed from their audiences. And you know, the bands were these elevated, you know, characters, and the fans were down here, and the punk movement was all about bringing everybody down. And you know, you guys know the Ramones and the Sex Pistols, and all that was about, I could do that. I could play those 3 chords. I could be that. And so it was all about doing away with that separation, doing away with that kind of...
the fourth wall. I mean, that's what...
Yeah, the pretend barrier. I kind of see it often as a barricade that separates the fans from the bands and vice versa, about doing away with that sense of separation. And that has really been our sort of driving force for the 40 plus years, is just trying to, you know, stay on the same level, do away with whatever it is that separates the bands, you know, the fans, and that is still what gets us out of bed to this day.
It's the reason we're here, you know, is to introduce people to an experience that you've had on Vision Pro with Apple, which to me is the latest step in that journey, and quite a leap as well. From anything that you've been able to do before in terms of bringing the fan into the experience of what it is to see Metallica, to get close to Metallica when you're at your best, which is on stage playing those songs, you know, and firing on all cylinders. Before we get to that, and before we discuss that experience for you and what it's going to be like for everyone to see that, and it is completely game-changing. It really is.
It's pretty fucking crazy.
It's pretty awesome. I don't just
Game-changing is putting it lightly.
Yeah. and also, like, I say that in full knowledge of the fact that, you know, it would be more convenient for me to say that and not work at Apple, you know, because then you'd be like, oh, cool, he works at Apple. But I mean, the reason I'm here is because when I watched it, it had such a profound effect on me.
You could also flip the script and say, the reason you work at Apple is because it's so fucking cool.
Thank you, I appreciate that too.
Right?
You know, I got to get the cynicism out of the way straight away, you know what I mean? It is such a profound experience watching you in this environment and being completely, you would think it would be isolating, but it's not. You feel so a part of the fan base that are in that crowd, and so a part of the band when the band are playing. It's mind-blowing. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. It's an extension of, I think, what you realize when you became so, almost, how do I put this? Any successful artist gets to a point where with the best of intentions, the idea of being on the floor with the fans gets challenging, even just for health and safety. You got to think about how you're going to extend that experience through big stadiums and arenas and bigger experiences.
Sure.
I feel like around the Black Album, you had to make that decision, and that's kind of where the Snake Pit came from, right?
Yeah, I mean, we always try to figure out how we can, again, get back to sort of doing away with as much separation between the band and the fans. And so going back to the Snake Pit, which has its birth, the Snake Pit is, for those of you who don't know, it goes back to our Black Album tour 30 plus years ago, where we're trying to come up with sort of different concepts. At that time, one of our managers was saying that the coolest seat in the house in whatever was going on in the culinary world in New York City at the time was not the corner tables or the ones where you can sit and see who's coming and going or whatever, but the coolest seats in the restaurants at that time in New York were in the kitchen.
Back, yeah.
No, in the kitchen, and where you were actually sitting with them, watching them do everything, and warts and all this to say. Yeah. And so we took that concept, and in the middle of a stage, we were trying to get out and away from playing at one end and get out and play in the middle of the arena and start the 360, which is basically what we've been doing for for 30 plus years to the best of our ability. But the Snake Pit had its birth in, so we played on a stage that was 360, and in the middle of it was maybe room for 100 fans that could be in the middle of that stage and really be right there with the crew guys, the roadies, with close to the band, and like we would say at that time, close enough to be sweated on, to be spit on, all that good stuff, and really kind of be part of the show. And we've taken that concept basically for 3+ decades, and every arena tour we've ever been on since then, we've played 360, and we've always tried to have the Snake Pits to the best of our ability. And we brought the Snake Pits outside into the stadium setups for the last 25 years or so. And then on this tour, the M72 tour, that we're now in the 3rd year of playing on, we're playing at the 50-yard line in the stadiums. And we're playing, we call it on a you've seen it, we're playing sort of, imagine a donut. It's kind of a round stage, and we call it the donut. And so we play, and in the middle of that donut is this version of the Snake Pit, which has room for about 1,200 fans. So we're playing sort of in a circle around the 1,200 fans and then to the stadium. So wherever you're looking and wherever your sort of POV is or whatever, you're engaging with fans here, they're behind you, I mean, wherever you turn. And it's very immersive, and it's it's a total mindfuck, to be honest with you, and super fun as a player to be up on stage and really feel that there's no place to hide, and you're in it.
Well, I was going to ask you about that, actually, how that sort of kept you grounded, especially when success came at you so fast. I know you worked really hard at it, but all of a sudden, there was this explosion of popularity, and the venues got really big. And that can mess with people, you know, but then you've got the small crowd in front of you.
But I mean, the more people you can play to, the more people that you have eye contact with, the more people that you're really, like, that are in your face and vice versa. So, of course, there's like a 1,000-yard stair element to, okay, up there and in the bleachers, but, you know, so it's always been about trying to bring as many people as close as possible, and not just for them, but also for us.
Yeah.
You know, don't take this the wrong way, but, you know, certainly when you do, and in the past, the tours were longer and more grinding, you know, so, you know, 20, 30 years ago, you go out and play like 180 dates or whatever. I mean, let's be honest, you know, not every show you're at 110%, you have ups, you have downs, whatever, but the more people that are there closer to you, the more people that are in your face, the more people that you're sharing a moment with and exchanging energy, the more it lifts you and keeps you up for more of the tour. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so it's also a kind of a self-preservation. There's a self-preservation element of just, you know, this is a good way to keep it going. And the other thing that we do, for those of you who may know, is we also keep changing the set list. We basically haven't played the same set list in 20+ years.
This is a really important point, actually, and there's a few bands who have the kind of catalog of hits and well-loved music songs as Metallica that do this. Pearl Jam do this. And you know, fans will often say this is a huge part of what keeps them engaged in the idea of wanting to go and see you play different shows, is because you mix.
Well, every show's different. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's really fun for us, and hopefully for the fans that come to the shows. But just changing the set lists every night, and it keeps the fans guessing, it keeps us guessing to a degree. And
do you get a chance to listen to the fans, or find out, like, does anyone in the camp or maybe in the band ever come in and say, hey man, there's a little bit of momentum behind this. We haven't played this in like 25 years. We should dust this one off.
Sure, yeah. I mean, that's say again, what? No Leaf Clover in Toronto, just for you. Of course.
It's on the record.
Of course.
It's on the record.
And thank you for saying that, but No Leaf Clover is not exactly the deepest cut. I mean, we've been playing it on and off for the last couple of years. Huh? Okay, well, thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
You already know that one.
Wait, Mark, are you in here somewhere?
Yeah.
Can you just make a note, No Leaf Clover in Toronto for this nice lady? Okay, where were we? So Copenhagen, so the Plaza Hotel. I was waiting for Richie Blackmore. No, we were further along than that.
Yeah, a little further.
Okay.
We were talking about setlist, but maybe we should move on because I think it's about to turn into Request Fest out here at South by Southwest. Slightly concerned about.
We can just turn it into what would you? Yeah. So what would you like to hear in Cleveland?
I want you to come to Hawaii again.
Of course.
It's been a long time.
That's been too long. Okay. Okay. All right.
I love how he got up to do that as well. He was like, "You better come to Hawaii, man."
Okay, so I mean, we're breaking the fourth wall. That's what we're here to do.
No, it's perfect. He's perfect.
All right.
It's perfect.
So about those set lists, so we keep them different, and that certainly is inspiring and keeps the energy and the momentum going. But like I said, the Snake Pits and that show, which sort of pivots to the reason that we were doing what we were doing with you guys, which is, the word I like to use is immersive. You know, it's like you want to just be immersive and in it. And when we got a chance to do, I hope I'm not jumping the gun.
No. Let's go all over the road. Let's drive everywhere.
Yeah. So, it seemed like the perfect marriage to do this with you guys because of that thing about being immersive and in it. And
well, you've done it in every other capacity. That's what we're getting to. You've given fans a chance to get as close to what it's like to be with Metallica, and it really does feel that way. You guys are in the fan club, obviously, right? Signed up members. Hell yeah, there you go. So, nearly 2 million of you in the Metallica fan club. Let's just think about that for a second. In 1996, you launched the Met Club. It's now a member.
Yep.
And you have nearly 2 million people signed up officially in the Metallica fan club. And that is an enormous amount of fans committed to getting information and to sharing information with the band direct. It's got to be one of the largest actual fan clubs in the world.
Pretty crazy.
This happened at the onset of really when the internet started to actually take hold in the mainstream, and we came out of that awkward kind of like, what is this? How does this get used? And you were actually at the forefront of that too. You did one of the first ever webcasts. Does anyone know this? In 1996, Apple computers did a webcast on QuickTime with Metallica from Slims. Right, talk about being right at the forefront of that. I mean, the buffer rate on that venue, terrible.
That venue is about half the size of the stage.
Yeah.
But we're playing a couple of warm-up shows for the Load cycle.
Yeah.
And that was broadcast with Apple and one of the first webcasts. But I mean, we've always been interested in pushing the boundaries. We've always been interested in on the tour before, the one we're just talking about, the Black Album tour, we actually sold a ticket to something called the Taper Section. Had 100 tickets every night for the Taper Section, and you could bring your own video gear, or you could bring your own recording gear in, and you could tape the show in whatever capacity you wanted, and you could take it home, and you could do with it whatever the fuck you wanted. And it seemed like such a cool way to sort of share that. And so we've always tried to figure out how to make the fans have that kind of access and feel close. And
also share the music in a very special way. Like, no one shares your music better than fans, not even you in a way. Once you've made it, it's up to us to like, you gotta hear this, you gotta hear this. So to give them access with cameras and audio equipment to be able to do that and tell their friends, you gotta see this, you're not gonna see a drop off in ticket sales at that point.
No, that's also how we got our start.
Yeah.
We made our first demo tape, and I would sit there and copy it on cassettes and in that little dual. Anybody remember those little dual cassette recorder things? Okay. Then I would write the song title, go down to the post office, and send it to somebody. And 44 years later, I'm sitting here. So that's always been a part of our MO, is just sharing the music to the best of our ability and making sure that there's as much access as possible, and coming back to breaking that fourth wall.
Where did the curiosity and technology sort of begin, and if there's a pinpoint as to where it started? Because that webcast was just the sort of beginning of what has been a very fruitful period for the band in terms of pushing the boundaries between the music you make, which comes from a very organic place of wanting to entertain people and play heavy metal music, but then also lean into what's possible with technology. I feel like it's synonymous with the band now.
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm not sure there's one specific incident. We've always been curious. We've always been open-minded. We've always been trying to just strive for whatever ways that you could, create access. And certainly you were just talking about U2 before. I've been also a huge U2 fan, and certainly watched from the sidelines as those guys have really pushed, the sort of the overlap between technology and music and all that. So there's certain things that inspire you, but there was not a specific thing from one day to another where it was just like, this is what we're doing. I think it just really goes back to, I have a very clear sort of visual with this thing about this door being open. Sorry if I get back to that, but it's just about trying to be as accessible as possible, being as transparent as possible. And, when I would go see bands like Iron Maiden and Motorhead, and I would end up, backstage hanging out with the bands or meeting them outside the venues and, getting time with them or getting autographs, or ending up, my friends and I used to follow Motorhead around California, drive behind their tour bus on Interstate 5 going, here we are, following Motorhead's tour bus.
Like miles on the road after.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, fuck yeah. So that's always been in me. I still not, and you know this, I have cannot, will not, and certainly I'm sure 45 years into it can say with certainty that I will never shake the fanboy that I really am. And I consider myself to be the biggest Metallica fan there is. And I say that with pride. And I'll always do everything I can to take the fan side and to try to make sure that whatever access is possible, we are on all the streaming platforms. We don't just side with one or the other, because that's not fair to the fans, or if there's an opportunity to do this or whatever, we want to make sure that it has as much of a collective feel as possible, because we want to make sure that everybody can join to the best of our ability, and it's not just about economic status or social status or whatever it is. Coming from a country like Denmark, where
Woo!
That's right, you were over there before, where it's all about the collective, and it's all about us and we, rather than me, my, and I. But that's a separate conversation for another time.
But you've even when things haven't been firing on all cylinders and you've gone through some tough times, we've talked about this. I was actually in this film, bizarrely, but the Some Kind of Monster experience was another example of, I've taken the opportunity with you a few times to do this, and I think this is, maybe if I'm going to do this one more time, I'm going to do it in front of a packed conference room at South by Southwest. I think that movie changed the conversation about mental health and the arts. I really do.
Thank you.
I really do. I think watching a band that everyone felt was this just immovable juggernaut of success in heavy metal go through what you went through and have the courage to release it, and for James to have the courage to say, I'm not well, I need to get well, and I'm struggling, was huge. And I do think there's a before and after Some Kind of Monster. I really do. And I think that you tell me, it felt like it brought us closer to you.
Some say too close along the way. I remember when the movie came out. What did it come out?
2004.
2004, yeah. I remember there was not a lot of reality TV at the time. There was not a lot of that economy and all these creator economy and all these different things. It was like a different thing at the time. And we originally, I don't know if you guys know this, but originally it started out as we're making a new record, and these wonderful filmmakers who had done a movie called Paradise Lost, which was absolutely groundbreaking and phenomenal about these hard rock kids that were in all sorts of trouble in Arkansas and getting mixed in and accused of murders and all this crazy stuff. Anyway, we provided our music for the soundtracks, and we got a relationship with these filmmakers. We asked them to come in and film us making the next Metallica record, but our intent was to do something along the, remember those, the Ginsu knives and all those like late night infomercials? But you also get another one, and then you get another one, and then you get 6 more Ginsu knives, and if you order before midnight, then you know all that shit. So that was going to be like a that was a thing at the time. So the new album, if you order the new album before midnight, anyway. So they came in to film the process of making the next record, and then all hell broke loose and meltdowns and.
But you kept filming.
And we kept filming, and then they filmed all the crazy shit that happened, and then the record company at the time who was financing the filming of this said, wait a minute, what is this?
Are we filming the breakup of Metallica?
Yeah, and so we had a conversation with the filmmakers, and we said, we trust you guys. If there is the film in here that you still envision, why don't we talk to the record company about maybe, why don't we buy the rights to the movie from the record company? So we got the record company, don't disrespect to the record company, but we got them out, and then we controlled it. We gave it to the filmmakers, and then they turned that into some kind of monster, and we were game for it. We didn't exactly know how it was going to play out.
Yeah, what was it like when you watched it?
Well, it was all about trust,
That's
trusting
right.
the filmmakers, and then it became that movie, and we kind of had to sit there and go like, holy shit, that's a lot of access, and a lot of transparency. But we had sort of gone along for the dare, and so we figured that we should stick with it. And then the movie came out, and a lot of music fans and a lot of music critics felt that maybe it was too much of a peek behind the curtain, and there were things in there that maybe fans shouldn't see. But in the film world, in the film community, it was received really, really well, really positively, and got glowing reviews, and because as a film, there was this natural dramatic art to, you don't need to go into the details of it, there was a very, documentaries don't always have dramatic arcs to them, and this film kind of had this organic thing that played out.
But also, just quickly, I think the music industry and certain parts of music didn't understand it because, again, I don't think we were there. I don't think we were having those conversations with each other about how stressful it is to be an artist, and not even just an artist in Metallica. Like, I understand life is stressful and everyone's got stressful jobs, and no one's telling that just because you make music, like, oh, it's so hard for you. It's hard for everybody, but it's hard for you too. Not you too. Well, it is hard for you too. But it is. It's courageous to enter into the arts, and there's a time and a place where if you're struggling, why should you hide from that? And I think it shows a real dedication that it just keeps popping up throughout the story of Metallica, which is that for a band that some people have unfairly accused of trying to control everything, you seem to let go of a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, you pick and choose your battles, but I guess the last point of that was that sort of subsequently, it became a hit within the movie community. It kind of became a hit or go-to movie within the mental health community, and for a lot of psychologists and psychiatric sort of approaches, and in the spirit of team building and seeing how, teams sort of work under pressures, under creative pressures and so on. And I think eventually it kind of came around to the music fans and the music community to appreciate that kind of unprecedented, at that time, access to the inner workings of a band and the creative processes and all the ups and downs that human beings who play music go through in a collective setting and at that point in their career. And so thank God that we had the I guess the belief in the material and the belief certainly in Joe and Bruce, our directors, to hand them the project and say, do with this what you like, we trust you.
Yeah. The drones. One of the first bands to ever use drones in an indoor environment, for good reasons. Using them to again create an experience for people that felt like every seat in every part of that arena was open to be seen and to be shot. Another example of that is in the cunning stunts. Have to be careful. The cunning stunts era.
You gotta say the correct.
Allowing people to pick and choose camera angles. All these things, again, leading up to in a few minutes' time to talking about Metallica on Vision Pro. These are experiments. What are you getting out of this? Watching the footage and seeing what people are choosing and how the drones are working and how is that kind of like showing you what's possible as you get closer to the idea of immersive experience?
Yeah, I think like we talked about before, it's just about always pushing the boundaries and turning over every rock, every creative opportunity and see what's there. See what opportunities there are and what can stick and what can't. Before we did this a few years ago, before we go on stage, we warm up for about 30, 40 minutes in what's called a tuning room. And a few years ago, if you bought a ticket to the show, you could access, there would just be a camera on the, maybe a couple cameras on the wall in that tuning room, and you could watch us warm up before we came out to play for you. So, we try all this different shit. Some of it works, some of it doesn't work, some of it sticks, some of it doesn't stick, some of it's maybe more related to a sort of a sign of the times or a particular mood or zeitgeist at that moment, and then a few years later it's like, well, that didn't work. Or and then you run into all these crazy things, as you know. It's like, well, the fucking bandwidth in the arena, if 18,000 people all want to log on to this thing, and you guys know all this shit. So there's a lot of stuff that you have to deal with, but you always lead with transparency and interaction and immersive opportunities, and some of them stick around, and it still goes back to doing whatever, here's the master tape of some song, and then you have a super cool remix or a super cool DJ do a remix of a song for B-side or whatever, all that type of stuff. I remember when Trent Reznor was doing this 15 years ago, maybe, give or take, the whole thing about like, the fans take the stems and you mix your own record. And so there's all these types of experiments.
What about when Radiohead did Pay What You Want? Remember that?
Yeah, all that stuff. And so some of it sticks, some of it doesn't stick, some of it's like I said, a kind of a sign of or a response to something particular that's happening at that time in pop culture or the zeitgeist, as we call it, or whatever. But that's the fun part of being in an autonomous rock and roll band, which is you don't have to answer to anybody. You can fucking try this shit. If you're fortunate enough to be successful, you can use some of that, especially financial independence, to try some of these things on. Like I said, not all of them work, but there's certainly always a desire and a curiosity, and that's really who we are. This is always a desire and a kind of a curious element to see what's under this, rock. And
Does it ever I was going to say, does it ever backfire? Did the drones ever get too close? What's it like playing in a room full of drones?
it means you trust in the operators
Shit,
a lot.
do you? My God. Hello.
Yeah, it's any opportunity to bring as much of a momentary energy and make you feel alive. When James goes, how does it feel to be alive? I mean, it's not just a fucking thing that sounds good. I mean, it's like you're alive in that moment. And that's the best thing about these sort of like live interactions, music, us sitting here talking about set lists in Toronto or whatever, it's that, this may sound cheesy, but we're all human beings are herd animals, right? And we all want to connect to the people around us, and the best way to do that is in a live situation.
Oh, dude, I mean, that's why gaming has become such an enormous thing, especially through quarantine, when it's the only way a lot of people could connect with each other is to play those games. And my last step in this journey, and then we're going to get to immersive, is there's a thing that people say now, which is like, the idea of expecting an audience to come to us that isn't part of an essential fan club is a lot. We're all getting led in lots of different directions. And so in a lot of cases, artists and anyone who's searching for an audience has to kind of meet people where they are. Because a lot of people don't, and we're seeing this across the arts, right? You got to take the art to the people. You lent into that in I think it was 23, 24 with the Fortnite experience, which again, must have been really interesting for a band like yourselves to perform in what is essentially a completely invented world, but with real people still engaging in that experience. And I mean, you're avatared up, and I mean, what are you in the green suit with the crazy things on?
Right. I can, I mean, it's great when you get a chance to make your own avatar.
Is James in the green suit with the little things?
It's the best because you can make yourself look younger, stronger, fitter, whatever you want, and also if you don't want that. But I mean, who doesn't want to? I mean, it's like being in like a kid in a candy store or a playground or whatever. I mean, so getting a chance to do that is so much fun. And if there's any parents in the room, but as a parent. And getting a chance to
That's the cool one, right?
Score any kind of cred points with your kids.
That's the cool one.
Like, guess who Daddy just talked to today? Yes, we're going to be in Fortnite. That always works. If that's a way to leverage, finish that fucking broccoli on your plate or whatever, and you can come play Fortnite before all your friends at the fucking beta stage or whatever, you do whatever you can. But it's just, again, sort of just pushing the boundaries of what's possible. And it was a great experience. Certainly, whatever, we've done pinball machines and we've looked at, some video game opportunities and always just having as many conversations about what are the ways to share? It used to be, I guess I feel like 30, 40, 50 years ago, you were playing music and that was the extent of the dialogue with your fans. Was like you were doing music and that was it. So music, fans, music, records, new material, live albums, whatever. But as time has gone on, as technology has gone on, as social media has changed the way everybody communicates with each other and with the things that they appreciate, there's all these new opportunities. And so, I guess we look for just ways to communicate with our fans, engage with our fans, and to have a conversation. And so it's gone from maybe music to more like lifestyles, and we have beverages and we do collaborations with Vans. We're just announcing a collaboration with Doc Martens, and we're doing great collaborations with Billabong and with Burton Snowboards and what is it, Mark? 686? Yeah, and you know, ski gear that's coming next year and all this type of stuff. So it's a lot of just great opportunities to share a conversation, share a dialogue, and do. It feels like now, you know, with bands and with music and with the things that you appreciate and the stuff that inspires you and turns you on, that there's just so many more ways to engage than there used to be.
But, you know, we were waiting for a moment like this. I was waiting for a moment like this to have an experience like I had when I saw Metallica. The film is simply called Metallica, and it's 26 minutes long. It comes out on Friday. Yeah, on Vision Pro.
That's right.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
On Vision Pro. And it's Friday, right? I did get that right. Where's my guy? Yeah, good. Just double checking. It is one of the most...
Are you guys like the Apple section?
Yeah, that's the crew.
Okay.
That's the
Hi.
crew.
Thank you for doing this with us.
Is that Lachera? What's up, bro?
What's happening?
I used that word profound. I'm gonna use it again. When I put it on and I had the experience, and as a Metallica fan, and the first thing you see is James. He's big, man. Big presence. And he's walking in front of you, and he's smoking the cigar, and the smoke is coming over him, and it's going right into your face. And you're walking right behind him, and you walk out.
Which is why I always try to walk in front of him.
He always walks in front of him.
Yes.
And you walk underneath the little area, this kind of bridge area out into the stadium in Mexico, and the sense of the crowd that you're approaching. I'm getting like goosebumps just thinking about the experience, because you immediately are no longer a bystander. You are having the same experience James is having, with the same level of enthusiasm and excitement and anticipation, and I'm sure still nerves. And then you literally are like, okay, when's this ride gonna end? And it doesn't. You follow him and he's high-fiving fans, and you're still there all the way through the crowd. And it doesn't quit for 26 minutes. I've never, ever experienced anything like it as a fan of a band or an artist. It's
and now,
crazy.
Our friends at Apple are going to bring out Vision Pros for all of you.
No, it's not going to happen. Lachero, sit down. You're with us. No.
Okay, sorry, I jumped the gun.
But Mark just told, what's that? Metallica are donating Vision Pros to everybody.
That's right, yes. Of course we are, yes.
Maybe we'll, I don't know. Maybe.
Walk into an Apple store on Friday.
If I'm on the hook, you're on the hook.
Can I just say, maybe this is like...
Then don't.
Okay. But as I sit here and look at you,
right.
Are you like starting to look a little bit like Steve Jobs?
Oh man, I get this. I get this.
But
I get this a little bit here and there. That's
in the best of ways. Seriously, I love
handsome bald guy with glasses. Go ahead.
But just from this angle, look out into the crowd.
I'm not your puppet, bro. I'm not going to play this game with you.
I love fucking Steve Jobs. It's like
same.
This is like
it's only one Steve Jobs. I mean,
do you know how many times I've watched the launch of the iPhone from 2007? It's like, you know, when you're sitting there going like, okay, what am I going to YouTube today? It's like, you can always go back to the Steve Jobs launch from 2007.
You are, you're a stan.
And go fuck it. I've seen that thing like 30, 40, 50 times.
You're a stan. And I'm sure that was part of the reason why you were intrigued by this. But, okay, so that's my experience. Just a small fraction of my experience. You've been leading up to this moment your whole career to get to a place where you could fully experience immersive and not just provide it for other people. You get to have the same experience that we have. That's the crazy thing. The drones are for us, right? The VR's for us. The webcast is for us. This was for you as well. What was it like when you watched it back for the first time?
Pretty overwhelming, sort of surreal. You know, you get still to this day self-conscious and really, do I, you know, really? That's what I look like when I drum? What's with the tongue and all the silly faces and, you know, all that stuff. But it's...
Yeah, bro, that's what you look like when you drum.
But it's so fucking crazy. And like you're saying, you know, when they came out, or when your team came out a few months before, and we were having the conversation about doing it and just understanding the technology and understanding the possibilities, understanding the cameras and all of it. And I was sitting up in, where was it, Foxborough, and your team was there, and we're trying on the Vision Pros and sitting there and looking at these sporting events and the nature of things and so on. I mean, it's fucking insanity. And then seeing a Metallica concert like that, and then on top of it, in Mexico City, which is about as high on the fan engagement, the fan passion, and the you know, the sharing of that expression. You know, it's just the Mexican crowds are so giving, and so that's right, and so just completely unguarded, and it's such a beautiful thing.
You actually experience that as well, which is amazing, is that when you, because it's not just about being with the band, it's the whole experience. There's times when you're drawn very close to the fans at the front row, and it's a beautiful, like, bonding experience as a fan, staring at fans, having such a good time right at you. It's like you've been trying to give everybody the best seat in the house your whole career. This is the first time I ever felt like I had the only seat on stage.
Yeah.
It is crazy. Is it the first time you've ever been able to not just obviously analyze your own performance, but actually see James that close and see what it's like watching him play that close up? Because you're always either behind him or to the side of him, so, or any of the guys.
Yeah, I mean, all kidding aside, I mean, obviously, there's been a few concert films along the way. And,
not like this, though.
No, of course, but I'm the one that often ends up in the editing room getting them kind of over the finish line.
Right.
And
more drums.
No, not more drums, just no cheat shots. I can't deal with cheat shots. That's a separate conversation. But so obviously I am aware of what the other fellows look like and so on. But the combination of this stage of playing in the middle, and like I said, the donut and the fans in the snake pit, and all of it, and then the Mexico City crowds, and then your 14, 15, 16 cameras,
Camera plus,
whatever.
Yeah.
Every time I look at the stat sheet, I think the camera number grows.
Yeah.
But it was somewhere, what, 14, 15, something like that.
It's the most immersive cameras ever to ever capture a performance of that.
It's crazy. And these fucking cameras, this is like a whole thing. It looks like a giant, like somewhere between like an old school like keyboard or like, remember like a Leslie organ? Remember those?
Yeah.
And or like a bird cage or something. They're fucking these big. It's like we're up there doing our sound check or whatever. These boxes are everywhere.
Yeah.
It was just so cool to obviously the filming part of it, but then in the editing part, and then, you know, the first couple of times having the headset on and being able to do that and to see all, and also the sound. Is it called spatial, right?
Yeah, it's all spatial audio, yeah.
So Greg Fiddleman, who's been doing all our audio for the last 15 years, mixed it all, that spatial sound, and it's just fucking crazy.
It's fucking crazy, man.
Really cool.
I mean, I watched it in my office, and it was like no one was around, nothing else was happening but that concert, that moment. I got a real thrill out of watching James play Enter Sandman, finally watching how it's actually done. No, all my friends for the last 30 years going, do badly, like, no, it's like that. You know, the whole thing is just an incredibly personal experience as a fan, and I'm also really excited because I think that that once people see it, other artists will identify ways to create in this space and to do cool things with it. And once again, you'll have been at the forefront of something and you will have opened the door for others to come in.
Yeah. Well, I'm just really, I mean, proud. I remember being up at Sundance, call it 12 years ago, give or take. It's probably around 12 or 13. And the very beginning of, oh my God, there's a headset. And there's this and this guy doing this and this product, and go down and try it on, and you went down, and we went down, and it was like, wow. And then seeing the technology develop, talking to a few developers and companies along the way, but never really feeling that there was like the right connection and so on, and then still looking for the right opportunity to do this. And then you guys came and knocked on the door.
See, the opportunities find you though, because
9 months ago, and so finally, you know, I think, you know, sometimes we try, it can be hard, circling back to what we're talking about the new opportunities, because sometimes you kind of want to, oh man, fuck, let's jump on the very forefront of that wave. And then sometimes it's like, it's better just to let the wave crash a couple times and see where it lands, and maybe be on the third or fourth wave or whatever, and wait for the technology to kind of catch up to it. So it's actually being, because one thing is that this can all be super cool when you sit and talk about it in these beta stages or whatever, but then we got to get it out to the fans and to the users and to the people, and make sure that it not only works, but also that it connects. And as you know, and some of this content is also not the cheapest to produce, so there's a whole slew of things that have to line up. But I am so glad that we waited for this, for the right time, and to do this with you guys.
And you're still the first. I mean, you're still the first to have done it in this particular nature and to this level. And like I said, you know, for me, I've been waiting for an opportunity to experience something that felt like the next thing. And I love the things. I mean, I was at Deftones the other night. I'm still getting a kick out of the things. I love going to the concerts. I love doing all the stuff that it's all part of me. I'll never stop doing that. But like when I put that headset on, and I really was just so there with you in Mexico, right there. And it was like you knew, I or anyone with this on, well, it's like you know we're there. It's a really incredible experience as a fan of music and of art to see that happen, and to know there's still a way for us to get even closer to that experience that we fell in love with as kids.
Yeah, no, it's the best. And I'm going to walk into an Apple store and, dude, can I try that on?
That's Lars's way of asking for a free Vision Pro, by the way.
Wait, weren't we supposed, oh, that's a separate conversation.
Where it goes from here is wide open, but it starts on Friday with you, with Metallica on Vision Pro. 26 minutes. It's like a mini documentary too. There's great conversations, beautiful, beautiful portraits of the fellas, and it's all just laid out really lovely. There's 3 songs in there. 1, Whiplash, Sandman.
Yep. And also those songs will be available on Apple Music.
That's right.
Mixed by Greg. So that's super cool.
Just trying to put some. Like I love the efficiency of it all, and I collect vinyl and I work for a streaming service. I'm into all of it, and I know you are. I mean, you're on streaming services, you're in a vinyl plant. I mean, way to boss me out a little bit on that, but you know what I mean, whatever. But you know, it's what's beautiful is that we're able to still kind of have an experience in the arts that feels special and unique, and this is definitely that. And Metallica fans, man, you're gonna flip out when you see it.
And to still be able to feel that as an artist or a creative entity, that there's still uncharted territory. Yeah. There's still possibilities to go into places where it's all sort of like, what the fuck? How does this work? What's the process? What is that? Well, you know, it's like all that kind of shit. I mean, that's what keeps you just in the moment, and I think keeps you, I hope that however long this ride lasts, hopefully, we were talking about McCartney before backstage, and you know, McCartney has a good 20 years on us. But if we can do another 20 years and still, I saw McCartney play a couple special shows a few weeks ago, and so did Zane, where you're in the space with Paul McCartney, and I'm looking around, and when I go to a show, I'm always checking out, you know, whatever, the lights, the sound, the fans, the audience, just sort of what's cool, what's working, you know, and as I was looking around in that space, and McCartney's there was nobody in that fucking space while Paul McCartney and all the fans, and, you know, he's playing, you know, timeless classics after, you know, it goes from Hey Jude into Let It Be, into Blackbird, into this, into Deep Wings cuts and whatever. But the takeaway, and I said this to you before, there's nobody in that fucking space that's having a better time than Paul McCartney, right? And that is something to aspire to, and something to be, if that's not gonna keep you in the game for hopefully another 20 years, all physical ailments and the aging process aside, I don't know what will, but I'm pretty sure it's keeping McCartney, you know, in the game and keeping him going. And so I think that, you know, getting an opportunity to do this with Apple and to go into uncharted territory is part of that spirit that keeps us young and hungry and still, you know, we have this saying, which I know people, when I say it to them, you know, they often correct me and go, physically, that's probably not possible, but I'll still say that I like to hear myself say that our best years are still in front of us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So even though there may not be another 44, if you look at it specifically and counting them, then I would like to say that hopefully, you know, if you don't get out of bed every day because you think that tomorrow or today is going to be better than fucking yesterday, or that the record that you're going to make next year is going to be better than the record you made last year, or the project that you're doing with a cool collaborative, you know, brand like yourself or whatever is going to be better than what you did last year, then fucking roll over and stop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that is certainly what keeps us getting out of bed every day, and hopefully keeps us going for another 20 years at least.
Dude, we appreciate it. I mean, M72, the tour rolls on. You know, we're going into your third year. Who knows where? I mean, just keep it running. You know, it's a great tour.
Dude, come on. Dude, look.
We got 7 seconds. Requests. Go. 7 seconds. Who wants requests?
It's fucking... Talk about just winding that down to a T.
Lars Ulrich, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Lars. Am I Lars. Can we get one? Can you get one more? What?